So thank you so much, guys. It's great to see you there, and glad that you found an opportunity to join us today. And for those of your friends or colleagues who were not able to do so, we will have a recording. We'll post it tomorrow or in a couple of days in the channel. My name is Lina. I'm delivery manager at GreenM and as well lead of Tableau user group in Ukraine. So as a host, I'd like to start the meetup with thanks and words of appreciation. I really admire how strong Ukrainian engineering community is in these hard times. Together, we are doing a great job and supporting the country economy, our heroic army, and people in need. So every IT company, every IT professional these days takes part in lots of volunteers projects, and this makes our victory closer and our hope saves lives. We are strong and we seek for chances to develop and be even greater professionals so we can help more people. The world is with us, and the international engineering community gives us a hand and support in directions. And this event is not an exception. So I'd like to introduce and thank our dear speakers today. Johan Groud, data visualist, Tableau Jedi at Antichaos, and Soma, our Osvay, the lead software architecture and Starschema. So guys, thank you for being with us here today. I know that both Johan and Soma have lots of public materials that can be helpful for Tableau lovers of all kinds. So dear speakers, please don't be modest and make sure to tell a couple of words about your professional journey and where those juicy materials can be found later on. In the first talk, Johan will tell us about new handy Tableau features and functionals. And over the second session, Soma will demonstrate some perks of Tableau extensions usage. Thus, we will have two talks about half an hour each, and at the end, like 5 minutes for questions and some discussions. And yeah, that's it. We also have the chart available to share some information about you guys or share some questions. We would like to hear your interactions, to see your interactions. And yeah, you can raise a hand if you would like to ask a question. Yeah, so let's get started. I'm share my permission to Johan.
Thank you. And I'll share my screen. Hi, I'm Johan Groud. I'm a freelance Tableau consultant from the Netherlands. I work for all kinds of clients, from leisure to telecom, from insurance to government, all sort of clients and organizations. I've been using Tableau since 2006, and a lot's happened since then. And since last year, I'm even a Tableau ambassador. This honor has been given to me because of the time I sometimes spent on Tableau forum, trying to help out people with questions about stuff like calculations, APIs, best practices, and server architecture. And I'm also one of the leaders of the Dutch Tableau user group. To show some of the stuff I make in Tableau desktop, especially for the work I do at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Netherlands, do a lot of mapping of incidents, but also do some work with text analysis. I've got 4 or 5 great data scientists with me, so we work together to create nice dashboards on all kinds of information based on news, social media, and so forth. But also just really visualizing numbers and figures. And sometimes, especially at the end of the year, I visualize stuff for, just for fun. In the Netherlands, we've got the top 2000. It's a list of the most popular songs. And each year, I think I do it now for at least 7 years, I tried to visualize this data in a different way. This was from a couple of years ago, and this was from last year. It's just fun to do stuff with Tableau, get data, and sometimes do stuff you shouldn't do because visualizing a hit list in a circle isn't the right way, but just it's fun to do and people like it. So I would also encourage everyone, just grab a nice data set and just visualize stuff. But now with the first tips, and my first tip is about tips. Where do I get these tips? Like I said, I've been using Tableau for a long time. But where do you learn the stuff? One of the major things is, of course, the internet. If you go to on YouTube, there are lots and lots of channels which are dedicated to Tableau. You can find so many data in the community, especially the Tableau ambassadors and they call it the Zen Master. Nowadays, it's the Tableau visionaries, which do a great job of helping people out. Yeah, like I said, Tableau on YouTube is really major, but my favorite on YouTube are the sessions from the Tableau conferences. There are sessions from 4, 5, 6 years ago, which are still relevant, and you can just listen to them. You can sometimes I watch them just on the home trainer and see the speed tips, get informed about extensions, and people and listen to people what they do with Tableau, which you really didn't expect. And of course, I have to mention the community itself. You can find a lot of inspiration on the Tableau forum. And if you don't get inspired, just ask other people what you want. The Tableau forum is huge. Many people will try to help you out. So go on a forum and help yourself and other people. And now for the other tips. I've got 3 different ways on how to visualize a top 10 list. A top 10 list is often asked by managers. And I use the Superstore data, which is included in all Tableau desktops. I'll use a new sheet. I get my data. And for example, I've got my subcategories and my sales. And I need to create a dashboard, and people ask, okay, just give me a top 10 of all the subcategories. The easiest way to do this is put the subcategory on the filters and don't select the general, but go straight to the tab top, and just you can select by field the top 10 by sales. Okay, very easy. And now I want to sort the subcategories by sales and just click on the axis. Very simple and easy to do for everyone. But now you've created top 10, and of course your manager asks you, yo, no, I want a top 15 or a top 7 or top 3. And you don't want to change that every time somebody asks you. So what you do then is you create a parameter in which you can create your own top 10, a top list. So what I do, you can do it in multiple ways, but first I create my parameter, and I call it my top n, the n from whatever. It's an integer. And let's start with the current value of 10. Click OK. And now I change the filter, edit filter. And instead of my top 10, I can use a drop down, and now my top n is available. My top n by sales. Okay, nothing happened because it's the same top 10. But if I show my parameter on the dashboard, I can now create a top 5, top 15, a top 3, or whatever you want. If you want to make it a bit easier for people, you can change the parameter. And instead of using the all parameter, you can use the range. Then you say, okay, my top list is at minimum 3, maximum maybe. I know these have 17 values in them, and step size is 1. So you can select 3, 4, 5, 6. I click OK. And now I can change my parameter to a slider. And look. It's easy for everyone to create their own top list. And you can set the default, for example, on 5 or on 10, but nobody can complain anymore. To make it a bit more beautiful, you can change the title. If I add change my title, and usually, for example, now I've got my top 5 subcategories. But now it's top 6, and this should change. So I added my title, and I can remove the 5 and insert my parameter inside of it. Make it even a bit bolder. Okay. And look, I've got a nice top list. Okay, this works very well. But I don't know, if I look at this top 6, is this just 10% of my total subcategories, or is it about everything? And that's where sets can be very useful. A set is just like a filter, but it shows you the data in and outside of the filter. I go to my subcategory and say create a set. And look, this is just like the filter. And I also got the top list. Again, say top, and okay, let's use the parameter again. So I got my subcategories based on the sum of sales. Okay, now I've got a new field. I create the same visualization again. Now the sales. And if I use this on a filter, it would defeat the purpose because we want a bit extra. So I remove it. But what I can do is, for example, if I put it in front of subcategories, now I can see, okay, this is my list of subcategories which are in my top 6, top 7, top 8, top 9, top 10. And these are out of these. These are the smallest ones. And there's a nice trick which you can use in Tableau. I create a new calculated field. Oh, this is a bit large. And I call it my top n subcategories. And other, because I want also to know what's outside of my top list. And the formula is rather simple. I said if, and I can use my subcategory set. So if it's in my set, so it's in, then I want to show the subcategory. And if it's outside of the set, then say, okay, then use, for example, other subcategories. You can use your own name. Okay, I've got my new field. And I replace the current subcategory with my top and subcategories and other. And look, now I've got my top list and my other subcategories on the bottom of it. I can sort it and look, this is my top list, my top 10, or maybe my top 8. And the other subcategories are also at the bottom because I put my set in front of the field. And maybe to make it even a bit more nicer, I can put the set again on a color. So the main categories are blue and the out category is gray. And this last part, I remove the header because I don't need it. My top 8 plus all the other subcategories. So that's the second top n list. But the third way is a different way. Top list, okay, but sometimes I want to know the ranking per category. For example, if I again look at my subcategories, I've got my sales. I'll sort it. What if I want to know my list per country? What is being sold within Austria, Belgium, Denmark? Subcategories are sorted right now, but they are sorted for the whole set, and I can't use the normal sorting because, for example, storage is large in Austria, but in the Netherlands they hardly sell anything. You don't use sets for these, but you can use table calculations. Let's try it again. I've got my subcategory. Oh, I've got my sales. And these are some tricky steps you have to take. I also want to know my country. I put it here. Now it's showing the sales, but now I change it to rank. I want to rank my sales on subcategory. Now I need to, don't use the table down, but the subcategory. And look, now my rank has already changed from the large numbers to maximum 17. And the next steps are sometimes hard to remember, but I don't want the subcategory in this visualization. I need it on the detail. I put my new ranking on the rows. And look, if I look at the tooltips, I can see Austria and all these different subcategories. But instead of continuous, I use the discrete function. This looks better than expected, because now I've got my rank, I've got Austria, copiers, storage, bookcases. In the Netherlands, we sell bookcases the best, and the copiers, storage. But I don't want to use my tooltip. I just want to show the subcategories. What I do now is grab a subcategory again, put it on the label. And now it's very easy to see every top list per country. If you want a even bit nicer, I can use the sales, so not a ranking, but the actual sales. I put it on the columns. And on the label, I align the categories to the left. And the color, you say opacity, so break it down to maybe 10%. So the focus is still on the text, so you can see copier storage, but you can see that, for example, in France, that storage, bookcases, and copiers are all about the same in sales. But in other countries, there's a much larger difference, for example, between fonts and copiers. So now we saw 3 different ways of handling top lists. If you just want a top 10 list, I can control copy this one on the filters. And look, now I've got almost 17. And maybe I only want my top 10. And now I've got just my top 10. So with both filters, sets, and table calculations, you can create different styles of top N visualizations. I hope this is clear. Let's look at a completely different tip. Everyone who is been in online marketing knows Google Analytics. It's the major analytics tool. And Google Analytics has one very neat feature. If I look at the interface and I click on the chart for one of the smaller charts, I can click on, for example, the bounce rate, and then my major chart changes as well, which is very nice because it's you can analyze your data very quickly. Can we do that in Tableau? Yes, we can, and maybe you can even make it better. What do we need? What do we need for that? Let's first show how it works. I've got my sessions. I got my page views and bounce rate. And now if I click on page views, my chart changed to page views, bounce rate, and I can even click within the chart. This is done by seed swapping using parameter actions. First, I create what we call the bound bar, the big ass numbers bar, just numbers with sessions, page views, and bounce rate. Then I create create the visualization I want to show, the sessions, the page views, the bounce rate, and I almost duplicate it for the mini charts because they will be on top, the sessions, the page views, and the bounce rate again. And now the fun really starts. I create a parameter. I already created one, and it's very simple. It's just a string. I call it metric, and it will be filled with a text. Next step is a filter, and it's a calculation which just contains the parameter because you can't put a parameter on a filter. And now we go to our dashboard. And let's create the dashboard here. I've got my bound bar, my big ass numbers. I've got the 3-minute charts. I put them horizontal. You can see these minute charts. I've got my sessions. I've got my page views. I've got my bounce rate. To mesh together in a container. Put this container in here. No, because these sessions, page views, bounce rate, I can remove these titles. And now I've got my big visualizations, which I want to switch and use a container. And I've got my, let's start with the no filters. I've got my sessions. I've got my page views. I've got my bounce rate. What I want to do is if I click on page views, only want to show the page views. Click on bounce rate, only want to see the bounce rate. The trick for this is if I go to sessions and my filter is being put on the filters. Oh, no, I need to, I'll change my metric to sessions. Just type it in. And now I drag my metric filter to the filter. Click on sessions. Okay. I'll do the same for the page views. Metric filter. Oh, I forgot again. I need to change the metric to page views. Because then the metric filter is shown. And now the same for the bounce rate. Metric filter, filters, bounce rate. So only show this visualization if my metric parameter is called bounce rate. Nothing happened. TTT. No, wait. TT. Of course, something went wrong at the moment because it should change. Metric filter. Oh. Don't exactly what's happening, but I'll show you what you should do. If I go to my dashboard actions, I create an extra I create a parameter action. And if I click in the bound bar, or one of the minute charts, then my parameter metric to change and which field should be used for this parameter. And that's rather new in Tableau. I can use the measure name. So the measure name is sessions, bounce rate, or page views. So now click OK, OK, and I'll show you the value of the metric. It's here. Now it's empty. And if I click on sessions, look, my parameter metric is called sessions, and now only my sessions is shown, page views, and bounce rate. So now you can add multiple charts on your dashboard without filling too much space. It's kind of a tricky one because of an extra parameter. But if you need help, please let me know. I'll save this one. A very small tip. It's about extensions, and in half an hour you get more information about extensions. One of my quirks is about parameters. The parameter, for example, the Boolean can only be shown, a Boolean is true or false. And it can only be shown, for example, in radio boxes, a drop down, or an awkward slider. But I want to show a real toggle like it's shown usually on the internet. And I use an extension for that. If you go to on your dashboard, extension, I put it here. And there are lots of extensions available, but I'll use my single checkbox parameters. Let's ask, okay, which parameter do you want to visualize? Okay, I want my TV parameter. I say set. And now you can choose, okay, I've got include, exclude. Do you want to show the parameter name? You want to use this a checkbox like here, or this one I really like is the include. Click OK. And look, my parameter can be used as a checkbox. I click on this and the parameter changes. So I can just remove the old one. So extensions can be used to create much nicer visualizations and even parameters and toggles. Some small tips on using Tableau in the desktop. Sometimes you're on a dashboard and see, okay, this tooltip, I need to change this tooltip. You don't necessarily need to go to the sheet itself to change the tooltip. What you can just do is within the dashboard, click in the sheet, worksheet, tooltip, change the tooltip, for example, and make it red and maybe possibly much lighter. And look, very easy to change small stuff within the dashboard. You can do it about the same with all the calculations, because all the calculations are available within the dashboard. Oh, edit calculator field. This moment my resolution of my screen is too low because and now my list won't show up. But the same look, for example, for parameters, highlighters, and filters. If you need to clean your dashboard, for example, I've got a menu, I've got an overview, and in my dashboard, multiple sheets are being used. If you clean them, right-click on the dashboard, you can say hide all sheets. If you want to clean your workbook and to delete all sheets which you don't use on in the dashboard, you could just select all the sheets. For example, these. I can select all of these. Oh, not that one. Right-click. Now I've got delete hide instead of just hide, which is very easy. If it's being used, it will be hidden. If it's not used, it will be deleted. And now you've got a much nicer, cleaner Tableau desktop. The last tips are about spatial, about mapping. I've got some examples for you. For people who didn't use spatial before, each point on the Earth can be mapped to longitude and latitude. And I found a list, for example, this is a list of cities within Ukraine. City, latitude or longitude. I should do admin name, what kind of data, if it's capital yes or no, the population in ID. And I want to visualize this in Tableau. What I do, I create a new sheet. I just drag my Excel file into Tableau. I look at Tableau, recognized country, city, all the fields we saw in Excel. And these are all the fields again with latitude, longitude, population. An easy way to manage a workbook with all the spatial data is by creating a spatial field within Tableau. So I create a calculated field. For example, I name it a city point because there are points on map. And you've got the wonderful function within Tableau, make a point. And it's just, I've got my latitude and my longitude. Then click OK. This is my city point. I'll drag the city point onto the map. And look, all the cities. But if I click on it, every city is being selected. That's because this is just one object with all the cities. If, for example, I use the name of the city and put it on detail, now every city can be selected. And I also use city on the label and zoom in. With just this one field, I can visualize much more. What I can do if I put the marks on circle, and I've got my list with all the populations of each city, I put it on size. We have Kiev, we have Lviv, I don't know how to pronounce this. Somebody may tell me sometime. Odessa and Kharkiv. This is a list with cities, and there are about 531 in this list. But I also found a larger list. It's not the nicest one. It's about all the violence within Ukraine. And if I do the same, I've got a create field. I've got a point, a make point of my, let's see, which latitude and longitude. This is about the violence, political violence within Ukraine in the last month, as we unfortunately are all aware of. Each point has an ID. I put it on detail. This is very nice. I can put the notes on a tooltip. So if I go through each point, I can see what has happened in the last 2 years. But one of the problems with this visualization is I don't know how many dots are exactly in each area. For example, around Kiev, if I select this, these are 984 incidents. But if I select about the same area in the east, these are about 3,000 incidents. And it's very important to show people the number of incidents. A nice way to visualize this can be done with using density. Density is not about the dots, but about how many dots are within the same area. Now you can see clearly that these are less numbers than these, and Tableau has very nice color schemes for this. For example, you can use density multi-mark. It goes from in green to red. But what if I want to show people both visualizations and not within two maps, but in a single map? It's again done by some nice calculations, and we use the spatial maps functionality in Tableau for this. What we do, I create a new field, and it's about the same make point function as we did before. Say, oh, not with pinned. That's a bear. It's a point. It's a make point of the latitude. Oh, the latitude and the longitude. And I created a parameter in which people can select, do want to see dots or do want to see the density. It's a small list, just a string. So now I can say if my parameter dot density equals dots, and then I want to show this point, and else I don't want to show anything. I call this point dots. I duplicate this one. Density. And now I want to say, but if I have selected density in my parameter, then I want to show my make point. To show what's happening, I use a new sheet. I drag the density points. Now, density, it's very important to use the right value. See if this one does work. This one does work. It's always difficult and dangerous to do a live demonstration. Density. Oh, of course. I already used it. So now these are my dots. But if I change my parameter to density, this will remove because all my these points, my dots will only show if my parameter is dot. But now if I drag my density and not on this one, but on a marks layer, it's kind of it puts it on top of the other. No. This is my density and my dots. My density, I'll change it to density. And don't forget to put all the IDs on detail. Yes. And my points, change this one to dots. So look, now I see all my dots, and now I change it to the density within one single sheet. Like this one very much to show both the density of the incidents as the individual points. And if you want to show off a bit more to your colleagues or your manager, Tableau mapping is nice, but this map isn't that great. It's called light. It's kind of boring. You can easily change it. If you right-click and select background layers. You can select, for example, normal. I'll zoom out a bit. You can select dark, which can be very stylish, but often not very useful. But also streets. If I go to Kiev, I can see all the individual streets very nicely visualized. Also got outdoors and satellite, which is kind of a Google Maps layout. These can really enrich your visualization. But if it's still not enough for you, you can add extra maps into Tableau using Mapbox. And if you go to Mapbox, it's just mapbox.com. You can create a free account. I'm not sure about the pricing, but it's based on the number of views each month. I go to my account. And then you've got Tableau, not Tableau Studio, it's Mapbox Studio. I create a new style, and Mapbox can help you. Maybe you like this navigation style. And if you select an initial style, let's go to Ukraine. You can change about everything you see in this map. For example, I see this label, and now its color, it's light blue, but maybe I like it red. And so you can change every color, every element in so many ways. And if you want to use this in Tableau, you could just have to select share, develop resources, third party, drop down, and there is Tableau. You've got a nice URL. If I copy this URL and I go back to Tableau desktop and you say map, background maps, add Mapbox map. I'll call it the Ukraine dog style. Which name you want, and I paste the URL. Okay. And look, completely different style. You can do this with so many maps. I collected some of you for you. On top, these are the default ones: the light, the streets, the satellite. I like this one, the amazing. It's kind of a Spider-Man theme. You got the upside down. People made these before, and you can copy these and edit these to use for yourself. So these were my tips for the moment. You can ask questions now, or please let me know if you got bugged. Sorry. If you have questions in the coming days, please let me know via email.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was really, really interesting. And I remember that like from the beginning, the tips and those like sources helps a lot. And while I'm working, I understand that it's along the way, always, they are helping. Okay, so guys, we have a Q&A session. So Q&A section, so you can ask questions, and we have some several minutes for that. And yeah, so first question, Johan, so could you share your favorite new feature from the recent releases?
Oh boy. I do like the map layers. It's kind of new, not extremely new. Sometimes I think Tableau is kind of slow with really new features, but the map layers can not only create extra depth to just maps, but you can use map layers even with just visualizations. I showed you at the beginning my top 1,000 visualization which was a circle. that was based on a map, because within Tableau, you can add extra layers of visualizations on top of each other, but only with using map layers.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Thank you. And we have another question. Could you please recommend the sources with visualizations which you used for inspiration to create nice and clear dashboards?
Often you start with wherever I arrive at a client, within 2 weeks, I'm known as No Pie Chart Johan, because everybody is using pie charts, and if you use Tableau, it's not done. Then you, if you look around, really bar charts are very useful, and just look around at current dashboard, but also with on websites, on publications. What kind of visualizations are people using, and do you like them? I will make a list of all kind of websites which help you, but you've got, I totally forget the names. I believe it's flowing charts. I will make a list of some interesting websites.
Yeah, we can
yeah.
share them
Yes.
with audience. Yeah, it would be helpful. Thank you so much. Yeah, so thank you so much. Yeah, and we are going to our next speaker, Soma. You have a role. Hey.
All right, let me share my screen. I did prepare a presentation of about 3 slides. Today I want to talk about Tableau extensions, and similarly to Johan, I also want to do a live demo, and fingers crossed that everything will work good. You never know. So at least it's a bit exciting. Let me just bring up the slide. First, before I get started, I just want to talk, a few words about myself. So I work for a company called Starschema. We are a pretty small Tableau consultation company, but we have clients all over the world. So we work with the biggest Tableau deployments around. We support Tableau server, we create dashboards, but we are most known for our hacking abilities kind of in the Tableau server. So my boss and several of my coworkers are Tableau Zen masters, and my boss Tamás is actually known for kind of like hacking Tableau and creating custom stuff into Tableau that are required by enterprises. But as we know, Tableau, they're sometimes not very quick in implementing them. So that's kind of what we do. I personally have been working with Tableau for, I don't know, like 8 years, 6 to 8 years, something like that. A very long time. I'm mostly on the developer side, so I'm a developer. I don't really create dashboards. What Johan showed me today, I actually learned a lot of new stuff. So I'm actually horrible at implementing dashboards. It's very easy to show new stuff to me, but that being said, it was still great. I am normally creating either extensions or Tableau related software. So I am actually the product owner and the lead developer of a Tableau Writeback tool that is being used by about 400,000 or 500,000 Tableau users across the globe, as well as Tableau server management tools that are being used by very large deployments for stale content management, license management, basically stuff like that. Today, I want to talk about Tableau extensions in a more generic sense. So not my extensions necessarily, but in general, what Tableau extensions are, how to use them, and to possibly show you a few good tips on extensions that can really benefit your business. I will also focus on free extensions, of course, and that's the reason I won't show my ones, not to make it a sales pitch or anything like that. So my talking points for today, and the stuff I really want to go through, is what are Tableau extensions, how they're being used, who can implement them, and so on. What the community is around extensions and how you can get them. I want to show you a couple of use cases, of course, real life Tableau dashboards, how the extensions are used there, and so on. How are they made? Enterprise challenges, why are enterprises reluctant to use extensions, and what has Tableau done to kind of combat that quite successfully, actually. Standard and sandbox extensions, and private galleries, if we have time. we'll see how I'm doing on time. I think I have like 25 minutes. All right, so first off, what are Tableau extensions? Tableau extensions, actually Johan was showing one. Tableau extensions are third-party elements that you can place in your Tableau dashboard itself. They are being developed either by web developers most of the time, or you can use some pre-existing extensions available on the web. Extensions, if I go on where's my Chrome? Tableau extensions have a very good gallery where you can get extensions from, basically. And, you know, adding an extension is as simple as downloading it or going into your Tableau and dropping an extension component onto your Tableau dashboard, basically. And as you can see on Tableau Exchange, this is the official Tableau extension gallery. There are quite a large number of extensions that will help you do a bunch of things. For example, add extra styling into your Tableau dashboard if you want, extra, you know, filter kinds, custom logos, like storytelling using Next dashboard, and so on. So they kind of add functionality that Tableau has been missing for a long time. And the entire reason why Tableau developed extensions in the first place is because the community was asking for a lot of stuff that Tableau itself didn't have, you know, the manpower or the resources or the willingness to create, because they kind of like to outsource stuff to the community, which I think is great. So yeah, that's what extensions are. They are, technologically speaking, they are actually web applications. So when somebody creates an extension, they actually create it using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Usually creating an extension is very simple, so you don't have to be a web developer to create an extension. It can be created, you know, without any deep knowledge of any of these languages. I've seen my Tableau dashboard developer friends learn HTML, for instance, while they were creating awesome extensions. So it's really not scary. It's very easy to do. Most of the extensions that you see here are actually quite nice, but the majority of use cases I've seen at large enterprises is that Tableau teams create their own extensions and host it themselves, because usually these are created for very specific use cases that you can't really get around with Tableau. And then you create an extension and you can do pretty much anything on a Tableau dashboard. Also, I've shown Tableau Exchange. So this is Tableau Exchange. The community behind, as Johan said, the Tableau forums are actually a great place of learning about extensions and learning about possibilities. There are a bunch of questions there which you can read up on. And actually, you know, for a lot of questions, the answer is to simply use an extension, a Tableau extension. Next, I want to show use cases. So this is the interesting part. Hopefully, this will take up most of our time, and I'm hoping to show some really good extensions today to get some minds going about what is possible with these. So the first dashboard, Tableau dashboard that I want to show is this one. Of course, by the way, I searched for Ukraine-specific dashboards on Tableau Public, and of course, all I got was the war. So I will show some dashboards about the ongoing conflict inside Ukraine. I have two, so it's not that many, but I think it's quite relevant. So, you know, I have this dashboard. The first dashboard is the country's response to the Russian invasion. It is very outdated. It's basically, you know, which country has responded with what to the entire invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And, you know, as you can see, the map is pretty clear. I think everybody's aware of what's happening here. So the West is condemning it, you know, like Asia is not so much. Africa is very conflicted and so on. And the first extension that I want to show that kind of helps us understand what's going on here is an extension called Let's Annotate. It's actually found on the gallery. It's like this. And what it does, if I click this button to show annotations, it actually shows some extra context of this dashboard inside Tableau. And this is editable. So, you know, I downloaded this dashboard readily from Tableau Public. I added it to my own server. Basically, I added this extension, and using this extension, I was able to add some tooltips on what is happening. Of course, again, I'm not a great Tableau dashboard developer, so it doesn't look very good. But essentially, using this Let's Annotate extension, you can give some extra context to the Tableau dashboard viewers and kind of explain what's going on. Right now, you know, it's pointing to certain areas on the map. But if you had a financial dashboard, for instance, you can also kind of, you know, point to individual outlier data, data points, and so on, and explain what's going on that specific chart to the end users. And I've seen it work, in quite a lot of places, and it really helps business users understand what they're seeing. And of course, it's very easily editable. So right now, if I want to add like a new kind of explanation for a certain country, I can just click this add button here. I can click any area of the map. Let's click, I don't know, Canada. Brings up a pop-up where I can configure, what kind of annotation I want. Do I want to line with the text or like a circle? It gives me a bunch of options. And then, I can configure pretty much anything like colors, strokes, what should, how it should look, notes, what should be the title, label, colors, again, a lot of different stuff, basically. So it gives me lots of configuration options. And once I hit save, there's my new annotation here. And if I actually go edit mode, I can actually move this around as well and kind of, place it wherever I want, show it however I want. I can move this as well. So it really helps, helps Tableau Dashboard developers set up use cases that make the end user, better understand what's going on or give extra context there. By the way, I forgot to mention at the start of my presentation, if you have any questions, you can ask in the Q&A session, but if you raise your hand using the Zoom built-in feature, I'm hoping to answer that, instantly. Simple reason is that, sometimes it's better to answer questions as they come along before we go and talk about other topics and so on. So this extension is very easy to use. By the way, when I'm clicking the show hide button, this is also Tableau functionality. So this is not the extension itself. At this point, what really happens is that we have the extension in a floating container inside Tableau. And since 2020.2, I don't know, you guys may know better than me, Tableau has introduced a feature where you can click show hide buttons, or you can make show hide buttons that show Tableau containers and hide Tableau containers. That's why it looks like a pop-up. In reality, it's not. So that's one extension. Let's annotate. I really love it. So that's why I wanted to lead with that. The second extension I want to talk about is called data tables. Let me go back, hit back by accident. Data tables, it's created by Tableau Magic, amazing group, amazing extension. And basically the reason why this was created, let me show what it does first. So the show row data brings up that extension. And what it does is actually lists the underlying data for this chart in a tabular format. Usually when you're on the Tableau server, you're viewing dashboards, it's quite hard to actually get this data in this format in a searchable way. You can filter as well. So I can search, I don't know, I can search for United States, or United Kingdom. And it provides a very fast interface where I can search the underlying data. I can see which exact data points are there. And also I can filter it. So I don't have to download it to Excel. I don't have to kind of, view the underlying data inside Tableau, which is quite, functionality-wise, it's not that great. And I can search by country name, or can filter by country name. I can filter by position. I can filter by, I don't know, latitude if I want, and so on. I can see how many options there are, paginated, and so on. So it's a very simple extension that kind of helps us understand what is the underlying data to the chart that we are seeing. Of course, what you're not seeing here is the configuration. Basically, you can configure it to show the data in many ways. You can show data of different sheets, different data sources, how your joins are done. You can show summary data, underlying data, and a lot of different options exist basically in there. So that was data tables. Another one that I really like is made by Infotopics, and these guys are great. They're very good apps for Tableau, and it's Performance Insight. And I have personally been using that for a while, actually. Again, I'm not an experienced Tableau dashboard builder, so I don't know the performance tips or the performance optimizations that I can make on my Tableau dashboard. And Performance Insight is an extension that really helps with that. So what happens here is that I have this show performance tips button, and basically it just gives me an analyze button. So it brings up the extension and it lets me analyze my dashboard. And once I click that, it will scan through my entire dashboard, how it's built, how my containers are done, how my data sources are done, how many calculated fields I have. It takes a bunch of different things into consideration. And at the end of the day, it will give me a performance score. Right now, my dashboard is quite good. Actually, I've never achieved A myself, but again, I stole this dashboard. So, and it gives me performance suggestions. Usually for me, there's way more. Right now it's only 2, but it actually, tells me that, I should be implementing a Z-shape layout. It gives me the tip itself. So it contains a few worksheets, but there's lots of marks and so on. And it gives me design tips on how I can improve the performance of my dashboard. And based on what I'm sometimes seeing from some of our clients, some dashboards really need optimization. So I wish everybody was using that to kind of, get a better feedback on what they can do to make the dashboard load faster, behave faster, and also to put less strain on the Tableau server itself. Because that's another very important kind of aspect of designing dashboards. You have to make sure that you don't kill your server. Yeah. Lastly, on this dashboard, the stuff I wanted to show is an export all extension. It is somewhere here. Export all. It's basically a very small extension that lets you export the data, the underlying data of the dashboard in a very configurable way. So right now I configured it to export to a simple Excel file, but you can configure a bunch of different options on how you want your data to be exported. And it gives you a single button that you can place anywhere in your dashboard. Where you press it, it will basically download an Excel file for you with the data that your visualization is made of. Hopefully my Excel will open in a while. My laptop is not the strongest nowadays. There's the data, basically, of the combinations. All right. This was the first dashboard. Do we have any questions so far? Okay, great. Second dashboard, second and last dashboard is this one. It's another Ukraine map. It actually contains data about the conflict itself and where it's made by a French guy, so it's in French, but I couldn't make sense to it. I think, where the bombardments are, combats are, incidents are, and movements are. And actually, it's very recent, the data. So I was surprised because the new Eastern Offensive is already there. Southern Offensive is already there as well. So the data is actually refreshing quite frequently. And that's why I thought that on this dashboard, one of the best extensions that I can show is this counter here. And we call it auto refresh. And so actually this is made by my friend. What people are using it for, again, it's a free extension. What people are using it for is to keep their data fresh on the Tableau desktop itself. So it will provide a timer. Right now it's set to 5 minutes. And every 5 minutes, it will refresh the underlying data set of this dashboard. So if you have, a database, if you have your data set refreshed quite frequently, of course, then, you have to make sure that, or you want to make sure that your Tableau dashboard also refreshes frequently. Then you can just simply use auto refresh. It will save you the time of clicking this refresh data every time, the dashboard and so on, and it will refresh the data on your dashboard. What I've also seen, it's another extension, by the way, but what is also possible is not just refresh data on this dashboard, because sometimes your data set itself will be a Tableau extract. So even though, we refresh every 5 minutes, if your data set is an extract, then that refreshes every day, for instance, then there's no point refreshing every 5 minutes. It's also possible with an extension to refresh the extract as well. So not just refresh the Tableau data, but refresh your data set too inside Tableau, which I think is great. Using this, it is possible to achieve, kind of near real-time information on your Tableau dashboard to kind of see, the data as it happens. Of course, it's still not as real-time as, you would need for stock market and values like that, but, it's good enough for a lot of scenarios. The other last extension that I want to talk about would be a Tableau tracker. And what Tableau Tracker does is that often, so this is another free extension by Starschema. Often what our clients were facing as a problem is they make great dashboards, but they don't know who is using them and for what they're using it for. So it's very hard to get usage feedback from the dashboards itself. Tableau does have the repository. They do store historical data about who opened it, and so on. So there's not much that Tableau stores. But using a Tableau tracker, what the extension is able to do is it sits on your dashboard. It just says running right now. It's running using the background. Cool. You can actually hide this completely, and it is recording every action that is being made on this dashboard. It is recording when the dashboard is open, what filters are being applied, what marks are being selected, and so on. And just to go to the stats dashboard, it builds like a table like this, by the way. So like different actions. So there's one field to change on noobs. So this is like kind of like keep alive. It shows us that the dashboard is open. You can see the data is quite old because it's an extract. I would have to set an extra refresh on Tableau. So that part I didn't do, but essentially at the end of the day, it will show me that, you know, I have changed the filter on this sheet. This is the date. This is the date value that I changed it to, and so on. And of course, there's a lot of different fields that you're not seeing here because I wasn't very careful when I put this together. So I just popped a few columns in here, but basically it stores every single action done by anybody on the dashboard for you to be, you know, kind of analyze that later. So you can see which are the most frequent filter sets, for instance. That's a very common use case for that. You want to make sure that, you know, the default filter where the Tableau dashboard loads is the one most of your users actually want. So you can analyze, you know, what is the most common filter set. You can analyze what are the most common points that were selected, who has spent how much time on which point as well, and a bunch of different things that we can get from this kind of information in there. Awesome. I think these were the extensions I wanted to show. If we have time at the end, I might also show Writeback extension. But again, the problem with Writeback is that it's the most common use case that people ask for when it comes to extensions, but there are no free alternatives. So there are like 5 or 6 different products on the market that does it, but none of it is free to try out and so on. But it's very frequent. Right, going back to my presentation, I kind of want to talk about how extensions are made and how you can get started. So if, you know, this kind of raise your attention of extensions, you know, what you can do to get started and how you can start developing. And Tableau has wonderful documentation on there. So Tableau Extension API, and they have a very good homepage. No, not this one, my bad, the GitHub one. This one. So this is an open source kind of page where there's a get started reference. There's an entire reference for the extension API. What happens under the hood when you click get started is you will be developing a web application using Node.js and NPM. And at the end of the day, you will create an HTML file where you will include the JavaScript code, and you will write some JavaScript code that perform the Tableau dashboard actions. So this is Tableau extensions are actually standard web applications, HTML, JavaScript, CSS, but Tableau provides you with a JavaScript library that you can use to kind of enable all kinds of functionality from Tableau. That's why, even though, you know, a Tableau extension is a web application, let me just open the other dashboard I had. So, you know, this is like a web application in here. It has an HTML code. Even though this is a web application, it is also able to read. Oh, it's not configured. It's also able to read the Tableau data, and it does that using a piece of JavaScript code that you can put inside that web application. It's called Tableau. Tableau extensions initialization. That's how you initialize it, and then, you know, you kind of do actions using Tableau.extensions. Read sheets, read data sources, read parameters, set parameters, filters, and so on. So the extension API reference is huge. You can do lots of things about marks, you know, range filters, settings, UI. You can show, hide components. You can style components, move components around. So it really gives you a very, very flexible way of modifying modifying your dashboard content to kind of achieve what you want. Enterprise challenges. So the reason, first, Tableau extensions are not used by a lot of enterprises today. The simple reason is because most enterprise security teams view it as a security risk, a potential security risk. The reason behind is that extensions are web applications that do have, a full JavaScript code that you have access to, and they also have access to your Tableau data. So technically, it's very easy to create an extension that will read the data from the Tableau dashboard and send it anywhere. Because, the Tableau extension will be a web application that is running on my browser at this point. My browser has internet access. It also has access to the protected data that I have on my Tableau server. So this middleman, this extension middleman, could technically send my data outside if it was made like that. So for that reason, enterprises originally were very reluctant to use Tableau extensions because they actually had to check through each and every extension's code before approving them to be used. And for that reason, most of the enterprises, or some of them that I've worked with, they only allowed internal extensions to be used. Tableau, thankfully, kind of saw that problem. And what they did is now we have two kinds of extensions. We have the original extensions, which are absolutely able to communicate to outside network sources like before, but Tableau also created something that we call sandboxed extensions. And what sandbox extensions are is that they are extensions which, they sit in your dashboard, they can read your Tableau data, but the network communication and the communication between the extension and the internet is completely blocked. Therefore, even if a potentially malicious extension is in your internal network, it is not able to harm your business in any way. And using this very smart move, actually, like all the enterprises that I know started to kind of allow extensions, even though it's most of the time it's only sandbox extensions, but that definitely happened. The only drawback is that some extensions actually rely on network communication. Let's say that we have an extension that reads configuration from a database, or it calls a backend API to log in or do anything else. Those extensions can't be sandboxing extensions, so they have to go through additional security checks there. Also, this sandbox versus not sandboxed is actually shown on the Tableau Exchange. So if I go back, for the sandbox extension, there's a little cloud locked icon. And this means that this extension is sandboxed. Therefore, there's a guarantee from the Tableau hosting side that it's not able to communicate with any outside host at all. Therefore, it is safe to use on your dashboard. For these extensions which don't have it, they are technically able to communicate outside with the internet. Of course, in terms of Dream Teams, an extension which allows Microsoft Teams communication, it does need to communicate with the Microsoft Teams servers, so this can never be a sandbox extension. When you're developing an extension though, so that's another piece of important information. If you're developing an extension, you don't actually have to worry about that. So there's no difference in the implementation of the extension, whether it's sandboxed or not sandboxed. The only difference there is in the hosting part. So even, you can potentially upload an extension into Tableau Exchange that does communicate with the internet. And when you just tick in sandboxed, that will be blocked by the hosting provider, Tableau Exchange itself. Worst case scenario, your extension won't work. Yeah. Private galleries. Yeah, it kind of comes with the enterprise challenges as well. So, enterprises originally were reluctant to use extensions. Tableau came up with sandbox extensions. Great. But then the next problem that enterprises, some of them had, was the official Tableau extension gallery. They didn't want to whitelist it. They want to make sure that they have more control over what extensions their users are using. And they also want to make sure that the extensions that are created internally don't end up on the public Tableau Exchange. For that reason, enterprises are actually hosting their own private galleries in-house. And they are hosting the extensions there. There's a bunch of different products available. Tableau doesn't provide one though. So there is Tableau Exchange, and then we have separate providers hosting their own private galleries for enterprises. I think this was everything I wanted to talk to, and I'm really looking forward to the questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Soma. And we have questions to you. So if there is any extension or functionality that refreshes the data when the book is opening.
With refresh, so with this dashboard refresh, it actually does. It's built in with the one I've shown. So that is absolutely in there. It starts with the dashboard refresh when you open the dashboard. And the reason being is, of course, Tableau cache is funny sometimes. And then, wait, which one? This was this one, right? So you can see the timer starts and it provides a dashboard refresh instantly, then does it after 5 minutes right now.
Okay, thank you. And another question, did you ever experience any issues with extensions functionality after Tableau version update?
After a version update, well, yes, although it's very rare, I would say so. So my extensions are being used, again, hundreds of thousands of users. I've seen it maybe once or twice. And it was in a very interesting piece of functionality where it wasn't really the extension API that was having a problem, but Tableau changed the way how parameters and Tableau fields work. So basically, there was the extension was using a Tableau parameter itself to set. It was setting the parameter basically. And after the Tableau upgrade, that parameter disappeared and the extension wasn't seeing that parameter anymore. And it turned out it was because the parameter was made up of calculated fields or something like that. And we had to talk a bunch about Tableau support on that. But I would say normally, no. The reason is that the Tableau Extension API is backwards compatible, and Tableau is doing everything to make sure that if you're using version 1.5 today, then version 1.5 will work on new versions of Tableau. They keep adding new functionalities there, though.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
I've got a small question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, are there any instructions on how to build your own sandbox private repository?
Yes, I actually have my own.
Oh.
I was actually one of the guys who were security auditing the sandbox extension capability for Tableau. So I kind of, I understand how it works. It's very simple, by the way. A sandbox extension is really just hosted with content security policy headers.
Okay.
So really, when you're hosting the extension, where you provide back the HTML, JavaScript files, stuff like that, you just place a content security policy header on top of it, and that way you can make sure that even that the JavaScript file will not be able to communicate using REST API, or the HTML file will not be able to load resources from any host that you don't want.
Clear. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yep. So I think that's it. Thank you so much all for the stream. This was like really practical and emotional and fun. As predicted, there are still many questions and issues, so you can send it to us and we will answer those questions. And the recording will appear in the channel in a couple of days, so you can share this as well.
Yes, we will share it in a couple of days.
Yeah. Yeah, so yes, thank you so much, and looking forward all of you to on our next events. Yeah. Thank you.
Guys. Have a great
Thank
day.
you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.